Go ahead, Steve. You're on.
All right, Ryan Bader, how are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be talking to you with this big fight coming up, this rematch with Phil Davis at Bellator 180. But to do a little housekeeping to start out with, I have to ask the question, and I know you've been asked this question before, but you were top 10 in UFC. Your only loss in your last 8 fights was to Rumble, and they chose not to match Bellator's offer. Why do you think UFC didn't keep you?
Bellator's offer. It was a great offer, and I don't think they want to open up the floodgates and pay that high, pay those terms. I did get offered a contract, before my Nogueira fight to re-up my contract, and we declined and decided to fight it out, knowing pretty much that it could be my last UFC fight, because what we were going to ask of Bellator, would be something that UFC probably wouldn't match. It's a flat fee, it's a higher flat fee, and it's not something, looking in the past of what they've done in other contracts they have done. So we kind of knew going forward that, it was probably my last UFC fight.
Well, at least if it was going to be your last UFC fight, you went out with a knockout of Antonio Ruggiero Nogueira. So 2 straight wins coming out of UFC and coming into the rematch. You've got to be feeling pretty confident about how things are going to go right now.
Yeah, not only that, a good role. We have a new coaching staff, and, that started before Nogueira. And we've been drilling a ton, working on a ton of technique, and just I see it all in training. And how much better I've gotten, and not only physically but also mentally, I get to fight in that Square Garden, get to win the belt there, so I'm extremely excited. I'm refreshed. I feel good. I feel like I'm the best fighter I've ever been in my career right now and next weekend, so it's something I'm really looking forward to. Everything's aligned, and it's just time to go in there and do it.
Now, with Phil Davis, you already hold that win over him, so does that even give you a little more confidence on top of everything else, the technique being right and the things flowing for you with the new team? So you've got to feel like you have his number.
Yeah, it's not even, that was a close fight then, and, it's just one of those things where I feel like I'm a totally different fighter from that fight. I feel great. But it's just one of those things where, I've only had one other rematch, and that was with Nogueira. But once you've been in there with somebody, you kind of know what to expect. You know how strong they are. You know everything about it. And so it's just one of those things where, you can bring that little extra into that fight. But training camp's been awesome. I'm 100% healthy. I feel great. And just ready to get to the fight and get that belt and celebrate with friends and family. So it's one of those things where it just can't come soon enough.
Mr. Wonderful feels the exact same way. He's pumped up. He can't wait for the fight. He said that you'll probably be 10 times better than you were the last time you two met, but you know him. He feels he's 10 times better too. So what are you expecting from Phil in this fight?
Yeah, Phil's a competitor. He's not a champion for, he didn't just fall into being a champion. He works hard. He goes out there, does these wins, and I know it's going to be a tough fight, but I just feel like I've grown more than he has since the last fight. I came out with the edge in the win last fight, and then I just feel like I've grown more, and I'm better than I was, and I'm better than him. Plain and simple. So that's what they make fights for, and that's what we're going to be doing on June 24th is figuring and sorting that out.
Now, did the preparation change at all? Because originally it was supposed to be King Mo, and I know they're both wrestlers, and you're a great wrestler in your own right, so maybe not so much, but maybe a little bit. Did it change at all?
Yeah, I mean, they're similar. King Mo doesn't really throw kicks at all, and Phil Davis does. Mo throws more hands, and he's more of a pressure fighter, whereas Phil Davis doesn't really like to be in that boxing zone, doesn't really like to get hit and throw hands too much, he likes to stay back and kick and, parlay that into getting a takedown or clinching with it, and so, there's similarities, but you got to look at a totally different person, totally different fight. We've done that. We studied him. My coaches, been breaking him down and we've been drilling things that we're going to use and whatnot. And so, a little change, but, it was, we had plenty enough time, and so the camp is, similar. It was a 5-round fight, so we did the extra stuff needed to be prepared, mentally and physically for a 5-round fight, and we're good to go.
Well, speaking of that fact, not only does it change from a 3 to a 5-round fight, it also becomes the main event on Spike TV leading into the pay-per-view. And since I asked Phil this, I've got to ask you as well. Do you like that position, or would you have rather been on the pay-per-view?
I like being on the TV portion. One, with my contract, I have some TV bonuses and whatnot. And then, this is one of the first pay-per-views that they've had, and I think it's going to do really, really well. You never know, Spike is definitely a proven model there. We know we're going to get the fanfare and the eyeballs there. And on top of all that, I get to fight at a decent hour and sit back in the back in Madison Square Garden with my belt and watch the pay-per-view portion myself.
Oh, well, that sounds like a pretty good plan to me. So which one of those fights on the pay-per-view are you looking forward to the most?
Chandler's a buddy of mine. I'm looking forward to his fight. I was looking forward to the, Fedor and Fedor fighting. He's fighting a tough guy, and one of my other buddies, Demetrion. So, I'm definitely looking forward to watching those two fights. Then you got the Sonnen and Vanderlei fight also, and so there's a good ton of good fights on there that I'm definitely intrigued. It's one of those cards where you can't call a clear-cut winner out of a lot of these fights.
That's very true, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on that Aaron Pico fight as well. I've been hearing about what a great wrestler he is for so many years now that I really want to see how well he makes that transition.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting fight. He's one of the top blue chip, prospects in this game. So be putting it on him being put on a big portion, big thing in Madison Square Garden. It's good to see how he'll react. So I'm looking forward to that fight also.
How do you feel about Bellator's focus on outstanding wrestlers in general? They seem to recruit very, very heavily from the blue chip prospects.
Yeah, I think it's a smart business play on their part. They may be getting some real raw wrestlers, but those raw wrestlers change fights. Move on down the line from us to every other wrestler, Division I wrestler that's in the UFC and other Bellator and other organizations, and those guys that want to do it, have that drive, they usually come with very, very good fighters.
Yes, sir, and they certainly do in Bellator as well, because we've seen, especially in this light heavyweight division, the guys with the best wrestling have risen to the top. Like Davis and Vassell are right there, number 1 and number 2, and you're knocking on that door right now.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So I believe wrestling's, the best background to have. It's hard to learn 15, 20 years of wrestling, in a training camp, So I believe those guys, and they know how to work. The wrestlers know how to work. They know how to put in the work to get a desired result, so you're always going to see them be successful.
Of course, this is a historic venue, and coincidentally, since this is a fight between you and Davis that's a rematch, the closest Davis ever got to this was Newark, so I believe it's the same case for you. This will be your first time since it's been legalized in New York. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the storied venues that a lot of fighters, it's on our bucket list, and I fought all over the world, Japan, Australia, Sweden, but this is definitely one of the venues on my bucket list, and get to fight there, and not only that, fight for a title there.
Does that affect your mentality at all, the fact that it is such a huge venue that everybody wants to fight at, or is it just another fight at the end of the day?
Just another fight. Every single fight is a huge fight, for the fighter. So, for me, the belt is just icing on the cake there. We train a certain way, we go into a fight prepared. There's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves, to perform to the best of our abilities for myself, for my family, for my coaching staff, everything. So, no different here. I'm walking into this fight, being happy, keeping it light, going in there and doing what I do, and then that's all you can do. And then go out there, get the win, get that belt wrapped around your waist. That makes it that much sweeter, but there's no added pressure or anything like that.
Well, speaking of being happy, I've got to imagine that the situation now with sponsorships is a lot better for you coming into Bellator because you don't have any Reebok restrictions and you can wear what you want.
100%. We did well in UFC with the sponsorship, so Reebok came in and kind of hit us pretty good. So to be able to represent my sponsors again, we picked up right where we left off. From the glory days of UFC sponsorship right into fight for a world title in Bellator. And, we're right back to the same amount, same sponsors and whatnot. So I'm super excited about that. It's just an added bonus to the laundry list of reasons why I came over to Bellator.
Do you think we're going to see a continuing exodus out of the top-ranked fighters in UFC coming over because of that situation?
100%. Not necessarily just because of that situation, although it's a big one, but a numerous amount of situations, and you're going to see a lot more fighters fight their contracts out. It used to not happen. Nobody ever fought their contract out in UFC because there was nothing happening for them. Now there is, and there's a couple guys that made the jump prior to me, one including my opponent, and then, me, or Nelson, Larkin, those type of guys, and Vincent Henderson and Roy McDonald, and you're going to see a lot more come over. And so I just loved what, when I was going through negotiations, what Bellator execs have to say. They have a plan. I signed the contract the day after, they come out and they have a card in Madison Square Garden in New York and just reaffirmed everything I was doing was the right thing.
Are you going to get a sense of deja vu at all, though? Because not only have you mentioned all the other guys coming over from UFC to Bellator, but we're also going to have Mike Goldberg on commentary for your fight. Yeah,
it was just so right. Goldberg's a friend of mine. We're both here in Arizona, and, he texted me when he came out and said, hey, be calling your fight. I said, awesome, he said, we're not going to miss a beat, so it's just one of those things where, Bellator's got some huge pickups, and it's a motivation session for me, but there's going to be some similarities there, like Mike, like all those guys, and see some familiar faces there too.
Right on. It's going to be a very familiar face when we see you in that Bellator cage, and a very familiar fight when you fight Phil Davis. But one other thing that he said that struck me was that he thinks you're going to have a lot of fun in Bellator, but he thinks you won't have any fun until June 25th. What do you say about that?
It might be June 25th when I win that belt, because I think we're fighting late, so it might be about 12:30 when I get that belt strapped around me, so that sounds about right.
I think he meant that your next opponent would be more fun for you, but I know. I can take your interpretation too.
Yeah, I feel so good about this fight. I'm in a great place right now. It's just when you hear a lot of people saying like, oh, I feel great, and then they come out and say, oh, I hurt my foot in training camp, whatever. I literally 100% can say with all honesty that I have never felt better going into a fight. Sometimes you have a little nick on your shin or your toe is got some turf toe, whatever. Knock on wood, I feel amazing right now, and cardio is on point. I made it to every single practice. I didn't overtrain, but I trained enough. I feel awesome, and so there's nothing else I can do. We can sit here and talk about, you said this, I feel this, but that's why we're getting in there. We're fighting for a belt there, and I couldn't be more ready, and I'm super excited. I'm just happy about the whole situation.
So the bottom line then, no Jose Aldo leg injury going into this fight.
No, sir. If I go out there, and if something happens, then, I went into this fight the best I can feel going into a fight.
Well, we're glad to hear that you're 100% and feeling great, and it's going to be a very fun fight to watch, free on Spike TV, so it should get everybody really excited going into the pay-per-view, seeing an awesome fight between you and Phil Davis.
Yeah, you get to see two top 4 guys in the world, go at it, and on free TV. It doesn't happen too often, so check it out. I guarantee it's going to be a great fight, and order the pay-per-view, and it's going to be a great night for Bellator. Great night for me also.
Very, very true. Now, Ryan, before I let you go, do you want to thank any sponsors or social media plugs, anything you want to get out there?
Yeah, just follow me there on that at Ryan Bader, pretty much on everything, on Take American Ethanol, Cyto Sport, which is Monster Milk, and then my personal business, Juvie. It's a nootropic shot. TryJuvie.com, JUVI. That's it.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. I've been following your career since The Ultimate Fighter Season 8, so it's a real pleasure to get to finally talk to you today.
Same here, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.